This is the final section of the interpretation of Morgan Housel's book, Same as Ever. We'll discuss a principle that might be highly valuable for you. How to grasp the key factors in things. This is the most powerful aspect of Housel's entire book. Everyone involved in work is part of a venture, but most people simply fulfill their roles. If your skills are solid, you complete tasks reliably, and you earn trust from colleagues, you will stably receive your salary. However, you might not see or think much about how the venture operates as a whole, its risks, and its next steps. In English, there's a term carry, meaning to carry forward. Basketball commentators often use this term, saying a team faced difficulties in a game, and it was thanks to the star player carrying the team, and the Chinese team lacks tenacity now because, after Yao Ming, no one is carrying the game. Carrying is not just about operations, it involves directing, motivating, taking responsibility, and becoming the soul. Let's talk about how to carry, or at least, you should know who is carrying. A few days ago, there was major news that OpenAI temporarily removed CEO Sam Altman. The specific reasons are not clear to the public yet, but there are mainly two explanations. One is Altman's ideological conflict with the board. The board wants to maintain OpenAI's non-profit nature, insisting on openness, and letting AI serve all of humanity. Altman, however, wanted to play a more capital-intensive role. The other explanation is that in early November, OpenAI achieved a crucial technological breakthrough internally named Q*, a key step towards AGI. Researchers were astonished, thinking this new ability of AI was too powerful and needed internal control first, but Altman insisted on another round of financing to quickly bring this feature to the market. Regardless of the reason, it seems Altman was more aggressive than the board. OpenAI's chief scientist, Ilya Sutskever, played a crucial role on the board side. We've discussed Sutskever's views on AI many times before. He's no ordinary scientist, being a student of industry pioneer Geoffrey Hinton and one of the key figures in the breakthrough of convolutional neural networks. He was also OpenAI's early and crucial technical development leader and played a vital role in the breakthroughs of the GPT series. This person, who is not interested in fame or power, is determined to make AI serve humanity. It's surprising to see Sutskever opposing Altman. On one side is an absolute technical backbone, and on the other is a CEO who doesn't delve into technology but tells stories. Whom do you support? Who do you think the company can't do without? On Friday, November 17, right after Altman was fired, company president Greg Brockman announced his resignation, accompanying him. That evening, 3 research scientists at OpenAI also announced their resignations. On Saturday, under employee pressure, the board hinted at the possibility of bringing Altman back. Altman, now referred to as X, posted on Twitter, saying, "I love my colleagues at OpenAI so much," triggering a collective statement from OpenAI employees. They reposted Altman's tweet one by one, adding heart emojis. On Sunday, Altman negotiated with the board at OpenAI, but the talks broke down. That evening, OpenAI employees posted on X, each with the same sentence, "OpenAI is nothing without its people," and Altman responded with heart emojis. Perhaps it was the most spectacular scene in Twitter history and likely the first time a company's coup was conducted directly online. Out of 770 OpenAI employees, over 700 signed a joint letter to the board, saying they would resign if they didn't get an explanation. Eventually, the board yielded, restructured, and Altman returned to OpenAI. OpenAI is a high-tech company, and its core asset is undoubtedly talents like Sutskever. Why did everyone insist on Altman and not chief scientist Sutskever carrying OpenAI? Altman's most important job is to get money. ChatGPT brought in some revenue, but compared to the costs of computing power and personnel, it's far from enough. Altman has to convince investors from all walks of life to continue investing in OpenAI. He's young but highly skilled in this regard. Altman also has to steer the company's development direction. He must decide the pace at which each feature is brought to the market and understand the direct and indirect impacts of each move. Altman personally interviews every new employee, spends most of his time giving speeches and interviews outside. But these are not the essence of Altman's work. Altman is pushing for something unprecedented in the market. Among all scientists, no one is clear about what GPT or AGI really is. So what Altman is doing is similar to what Steve Jobs did when promoting Apple products. Creating a reality distortion field. Let's return to Housel's book. Sustaining a long-term career is very challenging. If you can endure, you often find it profitable because so few people can endure, and long-term itself is scarce. But the question is, how do you endure? Housel says, long-term is just a collection of short-term sprints you have to endure. It is made up of continuous troubles, bad news, surprises, breakdowns, and the departure of companions. That's why we said earlier that long-term can be optimistic, but short-term must be pessimistic. For ventures that require collaboration, it's not enough that you're willing to persist, you also have to persuade others to persist with you. If a fund loses 40%, and an investor says they want to exit, can you convince them to stay? Nowadays, the financial industry tends toward short-termism because people want to leave at the slightest hint of trouble. But Housel says the reason others want to leave is fundamentally because you haven't explained it to them. How our project operates, what our strategy is, what investors should expect as investors, how we deal with inevitable volatility in market cycles, you have to prepare people for bad news. In short, you have to tell them a story. This story is not composed of today's market news or technologies that could be obsolete at any time, it must be made up of unchanging, permanent information. In the face of new information, you must be able to interpret it with your story, explaining that you are on the right path and continuing to accumulate strength. People believe your story, and that's how they persist with you. This is also the theme of, same as ever, perennial information. One characteristic of that information is simplicity. Complex information can highlight strength, but the most crucial and advanced things are often simple. Of course, it shouldn't be too simple, simple doesn't mean easy, but you have to grasp it. Author John Reed wrote in Succeeding, when you first start to learn a field, it seems like you have to memorize a zillion things. You don't. What you need is to identify the core principles that govern the field, generally, about 3 to 12 of them. The thousands of things you may think you have to memorize are simply various combinations of the core principles. This is the secret of learning and also the secret of leadership. For example, in finance, there are countless terms to memorize in any random course, but Housel says, for finance, if you grasp spending less, saving more, and having patience, you've got 90%. For health, ensure sleep, exercise more, eat real food, not processed, additive-laden food, don't eat too much, that's all you need. Core principles are not that complicated. Leadership is also like this. Don't manage everything in great detail, just know where the money comes from, what people to use, and where things should go. A few variables can determine most results, do those most important things well, and you're ready for everything. But for someone like Altman leading an entirely new thing, he needs a little more. That something is not technology. In a 1997 Apple Developer Conference, an audience member, possibly an engineer, questioned Steve Jobs on the spot, saying, "I've listened to you talk a lot, and it seems you don't understand technology at all." He asked Jobs a technical question about Java and demanded an explanation of what specific work he had done in the past 7 years. Jobs didn't answer the guy's technical question. He said something like this. The technology is undoubtedly impressive, but the hardest part is not the technology itself but how to embed that technology into a larger coherent vision. Only this way, your product can sell tens of billions of dollars each year. Jobs said the mistake people often make is first coming up with a technology and then thinking about how to sell that technology. The correct approach is to start from the user experience, first think about the user experience you want to achieve, then work backward to see what technology you need. Looking at it now, Jobs' words may not fully apply to OpenAI because no one knows what the next step of GPT will be or what AGI will be like. it seems like the sudden progress of technology is driving business. But Jobs caught something ordinary people couldn't see, something whose truth doesn't change over time: vision. Jobs' task was to invent a vision, make people believe it, guide developers, organize employees around it, make investors willingly stay, make consumers spend money. Make everything serve this vision. The vision is a reality distortion field. As mentioned earlier, people like certainty. The more uncertain the world is, the more people seek certainty. The vision is the certainty Jobs and Altman give people. Jobs said, "I want to provide products that combine technology and the humanities." Altman said, "I want to build AGI. As for what that product will look like, what AGI will be, we'll talk about it slowly, but first, you must acknowledge my vision." The vision is also a kind of story, the most advanced story. We've talked a lot about stories in our video, and Housel mentioned some here. But in my opinion, for the highest level stories, things like style, narrative skills, and emotional appeal are not that important. Vision-level good stories have three characteristics. First, they can leverage inspiration endlessly. For example, when Einstein contemplated general relativity, his most fundamental thought didn't come from complex mathematical formulas, variables, and equations. It came from imagination. Imagine being in a closed elevator. How would you know the elevator's motion state? With this imagination, the deduction unfolds. Second, they can focus the attention of different people on one point. The storyteller wants you to laugh, you laugh. They want you to cry, you cry. They want you to anticipate something, you anticipate. This is the most sophisticated leadership. Third, they can give people a new perspective. There is no absolutely objective way to view things in the world. Perspectives are always subjective. If you see yourself as a long-term trader, a 5% drop in stock prices may not matter to you. But if you think of yourself as a professional trader, not taking action at 5% is too sluggish. Perspective precedes theory. And Visa founder D. Hawk has a famous saying: "A new way of looking at things is more conducive to innovation than a new way of doing things." Vision-level stories not only touch people's hearts but also reshape people's ideas, provide a clear path, instill confidence, certainty, and charisma. These characteristics are immeasurable, unquantifiable elements, things outside the rules, part of the God part. As Housel says, the valuation of each company is a number today multiplied by a story about tomorrow. We'll end our discussion of Housel's book here. Not everyone can apply it, but you are qualified to know. Thank you all.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.